Good evening. Welcome to Community Viewpoint. I'm your host for this evening, John Pollack. Tonight we're going to be talking about dealing with veterans in crisis. We have with us tonight Tammy Brownlow and Bill Verbeck. And Tammy is like spearheading the issues that we have in this valley with veterans in crisis, sometimes leading to the ultimate, as we'll say, suicide. And I, being a veteran from Vietnam, we have a lot of veterans here that are coming of age, retirement age, and we find that when we come to the point of Social Security, we can't work anymore. We find ourselves somewhat helpless. We're on a lot of meds, and if we get off the meds, there's a lot of crisis over there also. So there are issues with returning veterans from Afghanistan, from Iraq, and Kuwait, and we have the older veterans like myself. So we have different groups, and also I think you're going to talk about the youth also, their issues. So I'm going to turn it over to Tammy and Bill, and do your thing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It started about last spring. We were at a training seminar, and Linda Flack came in and talked to us about suicide issues. And I realized after the love of the computer, checking out a few things, that my county in 2006 was about 8th on the list for having suicides. Mm-hmm. And it does hit our seniors. Actually, it's the leading cause of death over typical illness. So that part was a little scary. So I just took it. We started working. We did our first community our community walk in the park with about 8 or 9 other communities in September. Mm-hmm. Right. And it kind of pulled together a group of organizations and caring people. We had about 5 or 6 different community organizations. We had the Moose Lodge, the Elks, the Kiwanis, the Rotary. They all stood up and helped us tremendously. Matter of fact, our community was the first community that exceeded our expenses and actually made a little money.
Oh, great.
So now we can bring that money back in. I think the state keeps 10%. We can bring back 90%. It wasn't that much, but we still can bring it back and use it within our community to promote awareness and educational classes. Linda came out to from about May to about November, and she was having monthly classes, and then we're trying to get together a support group for survivors.
Right.
And she also trained me to do the 1-hour and 4-hour classes. So if anybody has a few people together and it's on awareness and prevention, I can do a class.
And then you have your name down below here also, that if they want to get in touch with you on that subject itself, and then you could connect with them and see if you get a group together to do a forum or a class or some education.
Yes, John, this is what brought me in with Tammy, and that Tammy asked me, and I did attend the Veteran Suicide Workshop about a month back, and like yourself, I am a Vietnam era vet, and I'm also in that senior population, which also brings crisis management risk, crisis risk really, to our population of veterans, and certainly it's something that's near and dear to my heart and has been for years. And from that day forward, Tammy, then we did conduct a forum on the issues facing our veteran population as well as high school kids and seniors, and basically pretty much devoted to the attention of our veteran population, but also to the many subsets we have of populations in our community.
We did, and the forum came off really good. We had small attendance, unfortunately, but a lot of great response, a lot of great answers. Mm-hmm. And it kind of took what we were kind of labeled at the time was the prompt suicide awareness.
Right.
And we're in the process of renaming ourselves to some type of crisis management.
Exactly.
And that way we pull everything together. Mm-hmm. right now as a group, we're going out. We're going to be helping with the teen screening through the middle school and the high school. We're going to be one of the trained members that they have doing that. We're also, after it's been brought to our attention that the veterans had a veteran stand down in Vegas, we're also going to try to put together a group out here where we can offer that additional support. Because a lot of times when you take away, it's kind of like Maslow says, you offer the shelter, the food, and right at the ground level, then everything else starts going into place and they can start putting their lives back together. And we have a large number of homeless now that I never thought we'd have before. And, there are quite a few veterans in it. So we need to do something to get them into homes and shelter.
Well, we have to get the word out to them, and that's what we're attempting to do, like on programs like this. And we go on YouTube, so they'll be able to access it at will. Hopefully, we'll have coverage on the different newspapers in town. And you're going to do something on the radio also?
Yes. Karen, I was so excited, called me this morning, May 3rd. I'm supposed to be on her radio show, and maybe one of the other board members I can talk to come back with me.
So you're going to get a lot of good exposure on that also. And then town board meetings, commissioners meetings, if you want to speak up to them and I'll put the word out to them, especially commissioner meetings, because they have the purse strings too if you want to do something more with a stand down here. And we have services in the town here for the veterans. We have first of all, we have the VA, our clinic here that's over on Calvada Boulevard, and then we have Ken Shockley, who works his tail off for our veterans. And do you know some of the services that he does?
I know a few of his services, and he was actually at our forum that we had and gave his input to cover his veteran population. So anytime you say there's an issue, he's one of the first people to stand up and say, we need this and this and this for our veterans. So he's very, very, I won't say outspoken, but he makes sure his viewpoint is heard, which is fabulous.
Yeah, and I would add this about Ken, knowing Ken, that he's on top of things. It's not only what's going on with our local population, but within Nevada and really nationally. And we're very blessed to have that veteran service and a gentleman like him running at this point in time. The spin out of the forum, if I may add to it, was the outcome really was it broadened its horizons, and that our vision, I should say, Tammy, in that we have a lot of good services, as you know, John, here in our community. And part of an observation, a spin out, was that even though we do provide services, crisis-type services throughout the community, and that there appears to be no single point of entering that crisis intervention. Coordinating it, I guess, is a good word to use there, Tammy.
We are a rural area, but we're the largest population in southern Nevada, besides Las Vegas, I would say. The Henderson area. But there's 35,000 people here, and actually, we should do something down here for Nye County.
Well, I went to Vegas with one of the other board members, and we spoke to Paul Fredrickson, who is a suicide prevention coordinator out of the VA Southern Nevada healthcare system. And he is coming out here monthly. I unfortunately don't have the date when he'll be out here again, but he comes out here monthly. His whole presentation is geared for veterans. It changes up from month to month depending on the questions from the audience.
Good.
But he talks about, the depression, the PTSD, and how everything relates to our high suicide rates and what to do to stop it. It's great for family members. It's great for actually anybody in the community, even if you're working with kids, because a lot of the issues to watch for are the same across the board, whether it's veterans, our 24-year-olds or our 10-year-olds, unfortunately.
Oh, that's interesting. We should get him on here and put him on YouTube so he's easily accessed.
He's trying to get that passed through his powers to be able to come on.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that would be
because
great.
we could link him through the YouTube and we could put him on for different venues for different programs through the hospital. Maybe if they want to show his presentation, or even at the clinic over here instead of watching. God knows
Absolutely.
what on the TV while you're waiting to be serviced. You could be watching him. you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll try to get as many avenues as we can so we get the word out to the veterans. So we have the ability to have them come to us and say, I do have a problem, without saying, I don't know where to go.
Yes, and I think a second observation that spun out of our forum was that as the economy collapsed on us, especially in rural America, especially in Pompano County, and that the 30% cutback in social services and other support programs that we had funds access to here in Prump are no longer existing at that magnitude. And so consequently, we're having to rely upon Las Vegas and sometimes, John, as far as Reno, to phone calls to receive intervention assistance for some of our part of the crisis management, whether it be a veteran or some other crisis within our community, health crises, what have you.
I found my right-hand person, and actually she's kind of the glue that is holding part of us together. Besides Bill's wife, Ray has been exceptional on being that mother hen for us. But Tony Sinclair is looking for a couple of grants for us to use to be able to put us in a position to bring more grants in and put us in a position that we can expand. One thing that we're doing right now is we're trying to I met Cindy from Monte Vista Hospital, and they have a little card with a lot of emergency phone numbers. So we're trying to get something similar for us, for our community, that's specifically for us, that has all the emergency contacts. We've since kind of picked up on the fact that sometimes some of our service organizations out there don't reach out, and they're kind of quiet, about reaching out to the other organizations.
Okay.
So we hope to, not duplicate anything that's already being done, but kind of pull everybody together and kind of be, if we find something like the veteran stand down that needs to be done, we'll try to go in and see if we can, help people work together and get something like that done, and kind of be like the something to fill in the cracks in between the whole system.
Right.
Yes, Tammy, I think what you said is so true. John, it's not to replicate or duplicate any of the good services going on in the community.
Right.
It is an effort to funnel the energy from a single source out so that our people can have immediate attention rather than having to call outside of the valley for it.
Now, there was that crisis hotline, too. It's an 800 number.
Yes, there's a
But-
crisis hotline.
Right, and but you said that's a nationwide number, though?
Yeah, the 800 number actually between, I guess it's 8 to 5, it'll ring in Carson City.
Okay.
We only have one crisis center, I guess, within the state, and that is in Carson. And then after hours, whether it's veterans or whoever calls it, it'll ring actually in New York City. So
New York City.
New York
Yeah.
City, yes.
That's a ways removed from Nevada, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Did we have that
Ways
number,
east.
too? No, we didn't get that number? We lost that number.
Okay, that number is 1-800-273-8255. And I know for veterans, the option is 1.
Okay.
So you don't have to stay on the phone any length of time. Just call it up. If you have a family member that you're really concerned about, they're exceptional about giving out information. If you have yourself, call them up and they'll give you some resources and they'll talk to you. And of course, I've heard, they'll call that number and we get pulled into Vegas. But, if you're a threat to your own life, yes, they're going to be a little cautious because everybody, even though you don't see it at the time, your life is worth $1 million, so everybody is. So we want to save as many as we can. If you have somebody that that is in crisis, it's kind of like the old stop, drop, and roll for fire. Just show you care.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically ask about suicide. Say, I know this is going on in your life, this is going on, your world feels upside down. and ask them. It's sometimes it takes the fear out of it when you say it. It starts the dialogue. It gives you a point of reference that you can start talking. And if you feel like you need immediate help, call numbers. Call the 800 number. Call 911. Get that person help. Do not leave them. So it's just a few steps, and that's one thing Paul teaches in his class, and it's one thing we show in our classes, is the signs to look for, and it's so important because sometimes you think you know what you're saying, and you say positively the wrong thing. So,
and it's important for the veteran to feel connected with the person he's talking to. A lot of times, they don't believe that you, being the civilian, will know what they're going through, so they would have to find somebody they can bond with. And so it's your job and your job to get that person out there, and through this program or other programs too, to make that veteran feel comfortable with who he or she is talking to about the issues that they have.
I think John, that comfort level is so critical for veterans, for sure. Veterans sometimes can relate to veterans better than any other group, and part of what Tammy, I recall, is this workshop that can essentially teach people like you and myself, not just veterans, I mean, we are veterans and others, on how to recognize these warning signs, how to do some intervention early on so that crisis doesn't get to a point where they are dialing a number because this is a last resort.
And let me give you Paul's number, if I may.
Okay.
It's 702-636-3000, extension 4459. Our next number is extension 4666. So, and if you have a group that you would like him to come talk to, call us up, either call myself or call Paul up, and that month he can go specifically and talk to your group. Our attendance has been a little low. I think it's because we have used the word suicide. It's why we're thinking about changing the name of our group. The veterans, when they used to call the veteran line the veteran suicide line, their calls started dropping, and it was very low.
There's
and
negative connotations.
Yes,
Yes.
very much so.
And
Do I really want to call? Yeah.
they changed it to the veterans crisis lines, and the calls went up 3/4 as many. So
It's all in the wording a lot of times. If you're feeling comfortable, or sometimes you don't want to call because of it. It's got red flags, basically.
Absolutely. So, yes, and Tammy, I'm sure you got Ken Shockley's.
No.
I would guess. No, you don't.
Yeah.
But most
Actually-
veterans in our community are very much aware of our VA services here in the Valley and Ken's operation. But he's.
He's right behind the planning department right now.
Oh yes, in the trailer.
Give him
you can
about
find him.
3 or 4 more months, and he and Wick and the health nurse from Nye County are going to be on the back end of the Calvada Eye.
Right, they're
Oh,
just
that's a little
completing that building.
Right,
Yeah,
that's a
you're
little
right.
bit
It's
behind,
30
yeah.
to 60 days off, and
Hopefully, yeah.
I think. But no, that's good news. Then they'll have that better visibility, obviously, on the Calvada Eye versus the trailer behind planning and zoning.
Right.
And again, those are good services. And I was really pleased that Ken did attend our forum, Tammy, that morning.
he actually canceled a few appointments to be there.
No, that was very good of him to learn more for himself too, and put himself out there for the other people too.
Very much
Well,
so.
that's basically what it is. Know the triggers.
Exposure, yeah. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Know the triggers, know the warning signs. It's kind of like like Linda's told us, it's kind of like putting eggs in a basket. You lose your job, you're going through a divorce, the kids are driving you crazy. There's different little eggs that you can put into a basket, and not all your house is going into foreclosure. It's not any one of those things. Sometimes it's what else is happening in your life at the time you get the foreclosure notice, or at the time you get the pink slip. That adds to the devastation. And it's knowing your coworker, knowing what signs to look for, and reaching out and saying, "We're here for you. We care." That's very powerful to keep somebody in the right frame of mind. It's just give them a smile a day, give them a hug, give them, positive reinforcement.
Sometimes it's hard for veterans to do that because they're taught to be standoffish and be more than they can be. Oh, where have I heard
Exactly.
that before? Yeah.
Yes, right.
And it's okay to shed a tear. It's okay to get a hug or give a hug because you've done your share. You've worked, and all you could have given your life for us, or you've come back and there's only parts left of you. And we owe you a lot because we sent you over there, and you said, "Yes, I will go over there."
Well, there's very
Yes.
few jobs that you get shot at every day. I know the police department might argue that point, but when you're in sand and sleeping out of a tent, it's a little different. But and now more so than ever, you have it's like the last crisis that went over, or that happened over there, I guess I should say. The individual was on his 4th straight deployment, and so they don't get a break. They have the frequent deployments. Hostile environments, exposure to extreme stress. Things are happening all around you. Your friends are dying. It's and your own physical assault while you're in service and service-related injuries. All of a sudden you come back and you don't have an arm or a leg, or
Right.
in some cases disfigured. So
Or you've had the head injuries too, and they'll be with you for the rest of your life too.
Yes, and compounding it today is our economy and the lack of jobs. And I know VA and others are now looking at this job creation for veterans. And again, being somewhat but rural in relation to Las Vegas and Reno, we really got to start looking at what we can do for our veterans in job creation and getting them out so that they can become more active. There's again, coming from that era as you, John, there's a certain pride that we all carry, and it's a private pride, and sometimes it gets in our way to doing more for ourselves as well as our communities. But
well, you're taught you don't need anything. You're taught you can do it all.
I suppose
You're
there's
invincible
something.
back in your 20s when you're
I think
fighting.
we were.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then as we get old, we find out we are invincible. Is that the word?
Yeah.
But there are.
It's a very proud group of individuals. All of our veterans are. We know we are. We had that bond, John, and when we entered boot camp, and we knew why we were there and what we were fighting for, and we did. And it will continue that way. And it's pleasing to me as seeing that more and more veteran services are coming of age.
Right.
Whether it's been, the new GI Bill's an incredible. Wouldn't we like to have had that one back in the
Well,
60s and 70s?
Well,
but
I did make use of my GI Bill from the federal with schooling. Then Nevada has it also, but the state of Illinois, I used that grant money for education. And there was you could buy a house with a
Yes.
VA loan, other things like that. But they're there to say thank you for either on the federal, state, or local level for doing that and going out and risking your life for everyone else.
absolutely.
But today we have, with the foreclosure crisis, for some reason you always hear on the news a veteran that came back from Iraq has lost their house because of some red tape or an issue that happened while he was overseas, and things like that need to stop. But it can be very devastating when you put your life on the line and all of a sudden come back and things are upside down.
Well,
So-
Tammy, it's like that's one of those triggers. You were mentioning triggers, and it just takes that one other trigger to put you over the cliff, sadly. And, coming home and finding that, one, you don't have a job, and two, you've lost your house or you're losing it, and possibly your family because of some, a situation that only you can explain to yourself. It's difficult to make it even public to your family members. Those are things that, again, I think bringing it back home here to Prump in this crisis center intervention center just makes a whole lot of sense to me, John, and how we can coordinate maybe more effectively and efficiently what we are doing for our veterans and other people in crisis.
And we'd love to hear
situations.
more from you. Please call myself or Tony if you have anything that you'd like to add to our program, if you have any questions, if you want to find out when Paul is coming back. I think our phone numbers are both on the screen, so please call us and give us your input. listen to the radio station. I'm sure we'll have even more information to share.
That will be when?
May 3rd.
What time?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think it's in the afternoon, 1 to 4.
Okay.
Are you talking about K9?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 to 4. It's a
I
talk
won't be as
show and
nervous.
call in.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got your work cut out for you. I will give you as much help as I can give you. Being on a grant from AmeriCorps, I work with veterans. That's part of my my expertise when I'm working at WestCare for the next 7 or 8 months. So that's why I'm here. That's why I have you here, because that's part of my job too. And hopefully we'll do our job well, so you'll have the services that you need, male, female, both. The females have just as many issues, if not more, because they're not recognized enough as being having the issues when they come home.
Yes.
Those issues are out there. We'll do a lot more. We're in our last minute, I believe. And so please connect with Tammy. And she's got, you've got her numbers there. You have the 800 number. Thank you for putting that up there. And we hope to see more of you in the future. And we hope to see you in the future also. And I thank you for watching. And we'll be back next week. And what I'd like to talk about too, just a second, Earth Day is coming up April 21st, and you don't have to see my face over there. We'll be doing some advertising on the TV stations in town, the newspapers. In conjunction with the Earth Day, we'll be doing registration for the town cleanup, which will be May 12th, the day before Mother's Day. So come on out to both those events. So I thank you both for coming. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next week.